What's near that?
Of course. Have been what?
I guess I just don't remember. Sweeney and I went around putting up signs in that area.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, I'm sure. Hey, John,
Good to be me.
do you remember putting up a sign of his at Prairie Hill and Willowbrook Road? I guess you're not really familiar with it.
I did not. My time on that side.
You got the sign?
I got it.
Okay.
I was wanting to let you know that I picked it up.
Yeah, we might have to do a little bit of a reconnaissance to find all your signs. Or putting out so many. Or just like, and then they took some down.
Are you starting early? Are you starting early? You're anxious. You're anxious to get out of here. I know. Usually I am.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winnebago County Board meeting. Tonight is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Our invocation and pledge allegiance this evening is by Board Member Tim Neighbors. Everyone stand, please.
Hearts and minds open for the betterment of this community, Lord. We ask that you continue to love, care, and protect our first responders, Lord, and all our armed services, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Neighbors. Mr. Thompson, are there any agenda announcements this evening?
No changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Clerk Gummow, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will start with Mr. Kelly. Mr. Lindmark. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Neighbors.
Here.
Mrs. Red. Mr. Salgado. Mr. Schultz. Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Tassoni. Mr. Webster. Mr. Westcott. Mr. Arena. Mr. Booker.
Present.
Mr. Butita. Mrs. Crosby. Ms. Fellers. Mr. Girl. Mrs. Gorel. Mr. Hoffman. Thank you all. Mr. Chairman, that is 19 board members present, 1 board member absent.
Thank you. We do have a quorum this evening. Next on our agenda, we have awards, presentations, public hearings, and public participation. I'd like to call up, let's see, let me grab my paper. Mr. Antoine George, if you could come forward, please, from the Health Department. And this year's Youth Leadership Council members, if you're present, you can please come forward. All right. It's truly an honor when we were able to have young adults that want to serve our community in special roles. And tonight, I want to give a service award for the Youth Leadership Council members. We have one here present this evening. And the Health Department facilitates this program, which is made possible by a grant from the Illinois Department of Human Services. The chairman and the mayor's Youth Leadership Council was established in 2017 to develop and retain diverse young leaders in our region. Council members engage in opportunities to initiate change in their immediate spheres of influence, as well as their local and regional community. I'm happy to be here today, as well as the county board members, to express our appreciation and give a well-deserved recognition to all of you that participated as Youth Leadership Council members that have done a great service to our young citizens. I applaud your commitment, leadership, and courage and compassion by participating and taking an active role in your community. So tonight, I believe we have one council member here. This is Paranjay Gupta, and I'm going to read you the award. And then the mayor has also sent over some commemorative coins. So I, Joseph V. Shirelli, chairman of the Winnebago County Board, and Thomas McNamara as the mayor of the city of Rockford, together recognize Paranjay Gupta for taking an active role in their community. This award acknowledges 1 year of dedicated service as a member of our Youth Leadership Council. Paranjay Gupta represents the very best values of our community and has served as a great example to other high school students. I wish everybody give a round of applause for Paranjay. If you want to say a few words, Paranjay, you're welcome to.
Hello. I'd like to thank the chairman and the mayor for being fantastic in letting me engage with the community through political participation, as well as being an advocate for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think we have a couple other members up here.
Gus, come on up. If you want to say a few words.
I'd just like to say, Chairman described what the Youth Leadership Council does very well, so there's no need for me to really repeat that. But I will say that I think is very important is just the idea that the youth here are able to collaborate with the mayor and the chairman. And I think in terms of grooming the next leaders in the community, it's really important that they get direct contact with the mayor and chairman. That makes it real to them and really puts them in a position to succeed for the future. So I just want to thank you, Chairman, and the mayor for your continued work with the Winnebago County Health Department and the Youth Leadership Council.
All right, thank you, Antoine. We also have a few more members up here. If you want to come up, state your name real quick.
Nyla Summer. Rebecca Wong. Sydney Turner.
Let's all give them another round of applause. This is great. Thank you. All right. The next, we have a presentation that for the Rockford Peaches 30th Anniversary League of Our Own for Mr. Keeling. If you want to come forward, and Judge Yarborough.
Good evening. I'm Jim Keeling, and it's an honor to be here. We're here tonight on behalf of a celebration called Loto 30, which is the 30th anniversary of the movie A League of Their Own, which features the Rockford Peaches and the period of women's baseball in the 1940s and early 1950s, when Rockford ruled the world in women's baseball. We wanted to thank Chairman Shirelli and then all of you as well, because the whole project that's evolved in the last few years was really, could not have even gotten started without the help from the Winnebago County Board and some funding to move this project along. So there's no ask tonight, it's just a thank you. And then to let you know what events are planned for July 1st and 2nd. So let's start by the presentations. First, Chairman, this is a Rockford Peaches pennant that was commissioned for this particular event, framed, and we hope it goes somewhere nice in the county's offices.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And then also, we have this piece of art that was commissioned, which you can't probably see it from out there, but it's a Rockford Peaches bus, a 1947 Greyhound Silverside bus. And our fundraising events that we're doing this coming July 1st and 2nd, which is just a small part of the celebration, is to restore a bus that the International Women's Baseball Center owns, that'll be a centerpiece in the museum when the museum gets built. So I am the co-chair of the July 1st events of Loto 30. And we start out at City Market. We have a whole Peaches theme, Rockford Peaches theme for the City Market on Friday, July 1st. And then there are 7 events in the series of these particular 2 days, and there's only one of them that has any cost to participate to it, and that is a fundraising event called the Suds Bucket Bash. And for those of you that know the movie, that was the bar in the movie. We will have one of the actresses from the movie, Megan Kavanaugh, here, as well as several. Yep, we both are wearing her jersey. Right? Hooch. Yep, Hooch. Yep, that's the one. And then several players from the Women's Baseball League, as well as some bat girls. And we also have learned that we will also have, to bridge to the future now, the participation from the new TV series that we'll talk about in just a second. Then later in the evening, we are hosting free the Friday Night Flicks, which is a League of Their Own showing with some activities around it. So that's July 1st. And I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Yarborough, who's the chair of the events on July 2nd, to summarize what all's going on the 2nd.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It seems like old times when I came into the building again. Thank you for allowing us to address you this evening. On July 2nd, we are going to have a major event at Bayer Stadium. And when I say major, I mean Major League Baseball is coming to Rockford to put on a free clinic for children 5 to 12 years old. And the children will have an opportunity to participate in drills and learn more about baseball. And we have these here for you to look at, and on the back we have a Q code, and that's how the children will be able to register. And there will be the ability for children to register at the event Saturday morning, July 2nd, 2002. After that event, we have a meet and greet with the community so they can find out what our plans are and what we're doing to build the International Women's Baseball Center here in Rockford, adjacent to Bayer Stadium. After the meet and greet, where you have the opportunity to get autographs from Marla Hooch, as well as other merchandise that we have, and autographs from the previously mentioned former players and Batgirls, there will be a celebrity softball game. And we'd like for you to come out and participate in the celebrity softball game, because we're going to have a lot of things that you normally have at a baseball game, such as t-shirts being tossed to the fans in the stands. We're going to have participation from Booker Washington Center, as well as the Blackhawk Boys and Girls Club, and many other civic organizations. There will be food trucks and some lighthearted times as you watch celebrities and champions from Rock Valley College softball team, members of local softball teams in our area, battle it out on historic Bayer Field. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak with you this evening.
Thank you.
There's a little more. There's a little more. It's just been announced that there will be a premiere of the television series will start on August 12th on Amazon Prime, called A League of Their Own, which we'll have in town, and a festival at the Coronado. It's an event that's hosted by the city and by the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but who are in support of the International Women's Baseball Center project and are going to be helping with the International Women's Baseball Center in fulfilling all the steps to reach the dream of having this International Women's Baseball Center at Bayer, as well as the other youth facility that's going to be built there as well. And there'll be a festival, and then the first episode of this will air at the Coronado at 8 o'clock. There was a lot of buzz today. The tickets are available, they're free for the community on Ticketmaster. So if anyone is interested in going, you can get on your phone and get some free tickets for this part of the event. And then we all have to rest before we get on to the 4th of July. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair.
Do you want to speak? Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say to Judge Yarborough and Mr. Keeling that if they could get Marla Hooch to perform It Had to Be You live here in Rockford, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Very good. Yeah, the rumor is that Kevin McCarthy just signed up for the softball tournament. Very good. All right.
Run hitter.
All right. So we do have public participation this evening by Reverend Earl Dotson Sr. I'm just going to read the statement here. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the ZBA, zoning committee, or the county board. Personnel matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. An individual may speak a maximum of 3 times per calendar year on the same topic. This prohibition shall include the repetition of the same topic in a statement on what is purported to be a different topic. Personal attacks or inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. Reverend.
Excerpts from the Bible. Reference, of course, to Father's Day that just passed and Juneteenth. Hear ye children the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not. She shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. But you have ignored all my counsel. I also will laugh at your calamity. To know wisdom is more than an intellectual achievement. It is the expression of that knowledge in conduct towards God and man. morality, and immorality. I stand here tonight proudly to say that our organization is working with a young lady by the name of Ms. Emily Rhodes from the United States Department of Commerce. She's helping us. We've presented our proposal for $150 million, and we're asking them, Commerce, for $15 million. And some people were saying, you guys are talking about that much? There are 15 cabinet-level departments in the United States government and 9 agencies. The combined budgets of those organizations exceed $1.4 trillion. $150 million is a mere pittance. How do you think you're going to build a sustainable community like the west side of Rockland without investments of hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to create high-paying jobs and wealth for this west side Rockland neglected community? It is a mere pittance, as I said. These agencies with these almost $2 trillion budgets, this is necessary to create an oasis of prosperity in a desert of despair because of a lack of wisdom. I'm looking forward to Mrs. Rhodes, if not Mrs. Rhodes, some of the other people, because we're saying to them, you need to come here to Rockford and investigate why the west side of Rockford looks the way that it looks, given the millions of dollars that have come into this community. It is disgraceful and it is shameful. And I say this as a warning. Some of them are going to come. It's not if they come, it's when they come. And I said it as I said Monday night at the city council. There's something wrong with a community that says this needs to be done. There's crime, there's violence. And almost every social commentator says create good paying jobs and you'll get rid of some of the poverty and the crime. The racism is another matter dealing with man's wisdom that he expresses towards God and man. You hear this complaint. Look at that community. Look at the violence. Yes, but create the good paying jobs. And let's see what happens when that occurs. But when you start talking about economic parity for black citizens, people become mostly non-blacks. Automatic astronomers, they start talking about the solar system. Hey man, we're talking about access to capital, creating jobs.
Reverend Williams, your time is up. Do you want to just?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda number 6, the approval of minutes. May I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 26, 2022, and layover of June 9th, 2022. Motion by Ms. Feller, second by Mr. Hoffman. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to the motion? There you go. Please cast a yes for all members present. Number 7 is the consent agenda. It excludes the raffle report and the auditor's report. May I entertain a motion to approve? Ms. Feller's motions, second by Mr. Girl. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Very good. Are there any board members opposed to the consent agenda? No. Please cast a yes for all members present. Number 8 is appointments. The appointments per county board rules. The board chairman appoints. Appointments require a 30-day layover unless there is a suspension of the rule. Tonight I'm placing up for the Community Action Agency. The compensation is none. Board member Dorothy Red, this is a reappointment to this board. Move on to reports of standing. Oh, yes, Ms. Gorel. You may. Ms. Gorel, motion to suspend, second by Mr. Sweeney. We don't have discussion on suspensions. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension? Hearing none. Are there any? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes. Cast all members present as a yes for the suspension. Motion, Ms. Gorel, to place Ms. Dorothy Red up for passage. Motion by Ms. Gorel, second by Mr. Sweeney. Is there any discussion on this appointment for Ms. Dorothy Red? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to this appointment? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Thank you. Move on to Finance Committee. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee has 2 items tonight. The first one's ordinance to amend the budget for upgrades needed at the EOC. This is to be laid over, but I'd like to suspend the rules and vote on this tonight.
Move to suspend by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Webscott.
All right.
There's no discussion on suspensions, so are there any board members opposed to this suspension? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to move and approve the ordinance to amend the budget for upgrades needed at the EOC.
Moved by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Westcott. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to the motion to approve this ordinance? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is ordinance to amend the budget for the ETSB telephone and other professional services. This is to be laid over, but I'd like to suspend the rules and vote on this tonight.
Move to suspend by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Girl. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I move to approve the ordinance to amend the budget for the ETSB telephone and other professional services.
Moved by Mr. Salgado, second by Mr. Huffman. Is there any discussion?
Yes, just real quick, just to summarize on this, it's a $1,750,000 budget impact. It's coming out of the ETSB fund balance, just so everybody's aware. This is due to the expenditures with the circuits and the telephone line costs that are associated with that. So it is coming out of the fund balance for that.
Very good. Mr. Schultz, and then Mr. Butita.
This did come up and was discussed in Finance Committee, and I appreciate that there is a substantial balance there available. After the meeting, I took a closer look, and my question, probably for is that the original budgeted amount was $300,000, and then after this, for the telephone line, and after this amendment, it's $2 million. And so the obvious question is, how could we have been so far off in the original budget amount?
Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, that number comes from the ETS board, so I would have to refer that question on to them. But when we work on their 2023 budget, we will make sure that the proposed budget is more in line with projected expenditures.
Mr. Butita? Okay, very good. Are there any further questions? Very good. Are there any board members opposed to this ordinance? No. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Salgado.
And that concludes our report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salgado. Move on to the zoning committee. Mr. Webster.
Okay, thanks. Your zoning committee has 2 items on the agenda tonight. These are in for the first reading. Number 1 on your score sheet here is Z0222. That's a map amendment to rezone plus or minus 11.9 acres. That is in County Board District 8. That got approval, one approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously, and also follow up on that at Zoning Committee. That was approved unanimously there as well. Number 2 is SU0422. That's a special use permit for outdoor entertainment to allow outdoor musical events in the community, yeah, you say that. Okay, and that's requested by Lisa Alvarez. That's for property company known as 122 South Jackson in Pecatonica and Seward Townships, County Board District 1. That likewise comes with full approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals with conditions, which there are 20 of them. And Zoning Committee followed likewise, approving unanimously with conditions as well.
Very good.
Those are in for the first reading, but
Ms. Goro? You may.
I think Mr. Booker wanted to say something about that. Did you want to suspend?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I was going to request that we suspend the rules on this. There's no other state law. There isn't any financial concerns on this at all. The owners waited quite some time for this to go through. So again, unanimous to the ZBA and committee. I'd like to second Ms. Worrell's motion to suspend the rules.
Very good. So, Ms. Goro, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. You making a motion to suspend on number 1 or number 2?
I'd like to, my motion is to suspend both
Okay. So,
Okay,
Ms. Goro,
with
you're good
conditions.
that?
with conditions.
Okay.
Okay, so Ms. Goro motions to suspend the rules on number 1 and 2, second by Mr. Booker, with conditions. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension of rules on number 1 and 2? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Ms. Goro, are you making a motion now to approve 1 and 2? Moved by Ms. Goro, second by Mr. Booker. Is there any discussion? All right. Are there any board members opposed to approval of number 1 and 2? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Webster.
Okay, thank you. I want to add now that, for special uses, we have the conditions, and we had a discussion about that at our last meeting. So I want to thank Troy Krupp, because from this point forward, when there are conditions, there'll be an extra blue sheet on your desk. And so everyone will have the conditions in front of them. Okay?
Very good.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Economic Development Committee, Ms. Dorothy Redd.
Thank you, Chairman. The Economic Development Committee has one resolution, and the resolution is authorizing the chairman of the county board to execute a redevelopment agreement by and between the County of Winnebago, Illinois, and Dolphin 39 LLC. And I so move.
Moved by Ms. Redd, second by Mr. Sweeney. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Butita.
Thank you. So obviously this is a $30 million project, which I'm in favor of course. But I'm not understanding the available tax increment and developer payment, the mechanics of how collecting taxes and paying the developer.
Mr. Dornbush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's in a TIF district, so it's an increased amount on the tax bill itself. Part of when the IJRL, which is the Illinois Jobs Recovery Law, when this was established in December 27th of 2011, the law's not on the books anymore, but since it was established, it's there for 23 years. Part of the incentives that you can offer as a TIF district is a tax abatement, tax reimbursement technically. The county, because it's in New Milford and Cherry Valley, this is the Cherry Valley side of 39, the county can negotiate up to 50% of the reimbursement of the taxes that go to there, that they would pay. So they pay the whole amount of their tax bill, and then they get reimbursed 50% of that. If it's over 50%, then you need the authority from the municipality. So it has to come through the county board, and then it will also go through the Village of Cherry Valley because it's over that 50% threshold. This is the fourth development. All of them have had these reimbursements. However, this is the first one over the 50% because of the construction costs and how they're skyrocketing. So that was the request for the elevated amount.
Mr. Schultz.
So my question has to do with whether or not this project that we're doing it for this particular employer, if something happens in the process where they don't continue on and actually execute the deal and come to our area, does this remain in place for any future potential employers, or is it just for this and there'd be a new vote if there was another potential employer that was interested in a special reduction in their tax?
Sure. Well, Mr. Thorne, my understanding, this is a redevelopment agreement between two parties at this point, correct? The Winnebago County and Dolphin LLC. It doesn't pertain to any other outside entity that, if this fell apart, another entity can step into place without coming forward to the county board, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. That is my understanding as well. This is specific to this one development, this one business. So if that were to fall through, then it would come before the board again for a new agreement or a different ask, different criteria, because it would change the schematics of the size of the building that they're proposing, and some other things too, water usage, hookups and stuff. So, thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one additional thing. It would also activate the default provisions of the redevelopment agreement. So if they were to fail to perform one of the provisions, then we would have to follow the provisions under the agreement as well. So they're subject to those. Thank you.
Ms. Gorel.
As an LLC, do they have an obligation to pay back anything to us that we might have put forward as a taxpayer?
Payback, thank you, Chairman. Payback what to us exactly?
Whatever we have invested in it.
Yes, whatever terms we agree to in the redevelopment agreement, they are obligated to follow those.
Even though they're an LLC?
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Hearing and seeing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Ms. Redd?
Thank you, Chairman. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Ms. Redd. Move on to Operations Administrative Committee. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Operations has one resolution this evening authorizing acceptance of credit cards by the Winnebago County Clerk and Recorder of Deeds offices, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
No, sir.
Any board member discussion? Are there any board members opposed to this resolution? All right, hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
That concludes the report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Public Works, Mr. Tassoni. Thank you, Mr. Tassoni. Public Safety and Judiciary Committee, Mr. Gurl.
Mr. Chairman, no report.
Thank you, Mr. Gurl. We have one item under unfinished business. It's an appointment. This has been laid over for 30 days. It's for the North Park Public Water District. Compensation is for $1,200 annually, and the applicant is Mr. Josh Arand. It is a new appointment to fulfill the remainder of a term from Karen Beaver, who passed away recently. So this is a new appointment. Is there any discussion? Or do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Crosby, second by Ms. Gorel. Any discussion on this appointment? All right, hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this appointment? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. New business. Is there any new business from any board members? Very good. Announcements and communications. Clerk Gummow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The items listed below were received as correspondence.
Are there any announcements or communications from board members? Mr. Gurl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to wish everyone next Tuesday who does have an opponent the best of luck in the primary. Luck and see you soon. Thank you.
Very good. We share the sentiment. Any other communications, Mr. Webster? Oh, we know what Mr. Webster is doing. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Webster, second by Mr. Sweeney. Does anyone want to stay longer? Very good. We are adjourned. Thank you. Well, I didn't make it. I was close.
Every time I talk.
I tried.
I'll go home and make myself a cup of coffee. I'll make you a cup next time. I made it on the floor.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. I'm due for a trip myself right now. I understand that. Yes, I do. Ending night tonight. I don't see any